Welcome to Renegade Thinkers Unite, featuring the sharpest minds in marketing, inspirational case histories, and weekly insights you can apply to your business. Find out why top CMOs rank this podcast among their favorites. Now, here's your host, Chief Marketing Renegade, Drew Nizer.
Every January, over 180,000 people converge on Las Vegas to place their bets on the coolest, sexiest, and potentially coveted gadgets the world is yet to see. It's a gathering I've rarely missed since 1989 when the legendary new business whiz Don Peppers showed me the ropes. And not just because we had clients exhibiting or prospects to meet, but also because there is almost no aspect of business today that isn't affected by the innovations first shared at CES. In this special episode, we'll take a sneak peek at the 2019 CES through the eyes of business-to-business marketers, identifying technology and trends these folks need to know they need to know. And I can think of no better guide than Shelly Palmer making a second appearance on Renegade Thinkers Unite. Welcome back to the show, Shelly. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome, and it's almost CES time.
It is almost CES.
And that's a big time for your business.
Yeah, we love the show. As you said in your intro, CES is a unique crystal ball into the future. You can see 12 months out, the stuff that's being sold. You can see 18 to 24 months out, stuff that is just getting ready to get sold, the chipsets that are just now out of development. And you can see about 36 months into the future, which are the chips in pure concept or the concept demo. So understanding what's already in a consumer device, what's going to be in a consumer device, and then what may one day be in a consumer device, that gives you a lot of stuff to think about.
Well, it's funny, when we were talking in the sort of pre-show here before you all got a chance to listen to us, you know, one of the advantages of having some experience in the business is that you actually have perspective and you can see patterns. It's not like you could walk into this show the first time and suddenly see it all and understand and see those patterns. And that's what expertise is. And you're an expert in this area.
Thank you.
So what, and by the way, I noticed that Procter & Gamble is going to be exhibiting for the first time at CES. And I thought, if ever there was a moment where sort of everyday life and technology have converged, that is the symbol, or it's the symbol of the apocalypse. I'm not sure which.
That is a really interesting observation. I think it's one of the horses of the apocalypse. I do, and I'll tell you why. Mark Pritchard and his group at Procter & Gamble are really smart people, and they have a really big set of problems to solve for, not the least of which is the fact that they are experts in making lots of copies of identical things at the lowest possible price, getting them out, distributed worldwide, and communicating that they're available at a very good price to as many human beings as could possibly buy them. The problem is reaching people at a price in mass market communications has never been harder. Media mixes have never been harder. And there are thousands of ankle-biting companies that are just torturing Procter & Gamble and Unilever and RB and all the FMCG and CPG companies. All of them are being, even and the craft beer guys too, are coming after the beer guys. I mean, there isn't a place you can look where someone said, here's the way the founder works. This is the way all the videos go. I used to do this. I hated it. So I founded this. And now you don't have to do that. It's like, how many of those have you seen?
Right. So here's a question for you, because this is my theory on it, and I could be completely wrong, but I'm interested in your perspective. And I do want to get to B2B. But so several years ago, I'm going to say somewhere around 10 years ago, P&G decided they were only going to support their billion-dollar brands. They were going to have a series of them. I think they have 22, something like that, right? And my theory is that was the day innovation died. And and I'll tell you why. Because if you say I have to be at $1 billion, the same thing happened with pharma, where they said we have to have the $1 billion brands, and they stopped developing these little ones that could grow into. So you lose the ability to say, hey, we've got a $50 million exciting thing that's doing innovative marketing, that's reaching a target, and you stop competing with yourself. So you cede everything below $1 billion to all these other guys that suddenly are going to be, and then you're going to pay $1 billion for Dollar Shave Club.
So there are many schools of thought about that. Certainly that observation is accurate. And whether it's characterized as the end of innovation or the death of brands, I actually don't know if I would go to the extreme. But what I will say is the following. I think a lot of people have analyzed what it is, the failure rate to grow something from scratch. And if you know about the internal capabilities of a large corporation, no matter what large corporation it is, it's very hard to get buy-in from stakeholders. It's very hard to take EBITDA that is part of the bonus pool for senior executives and get them to spend it. It is so much easier to let the outside world be your entire laboratory. Google's expert at this. For years, they assumed every engineer all over the world already worked for them. And they knew they were going to pay a premium when whatever technology those engineers were working on, the 3 or 5 human beings that got in a room and made something amazing. So yeah, they had to pay $25 million for it, which to those 3 or 4 people was like life-changing money. But to Google, they didn't know they wrote the check. And so rather than have 50 seated, and now they still have incubators, and because the West Coast does it slightly differently, big brands don't tend to do it as well, although many have mimicked the incubator methodology. But there are people who will just tell you it is way cheaper on average to buy something that you know is going to work than to try 20 things and figure out which one's going to work. And that's, that it's just a different way to think about the business.
Okay, fine. So we'll buy our way to success. It's certainly with the way what IBM has tried in the B2B.
And by the way, it doesn't always work.
Cisco has done it. Some are very good at acquiring.
I'm not an advocate of either one. I'm just saying there are 2 schools of thought.
Got it. Okay. So I also noticed in my research that Raytheon was going to be there. And I thought, okay, this is a big defense company. So, this is when we make the pure pivot to B2B at CES. Why is a B2B business like Raytheon exhibiting at CES?
Well, there's several. Bosch is there. They're all B2B. I mean, they make stuff that makes your stuff better. They don't make any stuff.
Right.
There's Aptiv, which is the old Delphi.
Sure.
They're there and have been. They make all kinds of OEM stuff for car manufacturers, but understand that every major car manufacturer is there. And so they're there to support the executives that are, their biggest clients. Also, I think it's important, and I think for B2B companies, to understand that all human beings are consumers. And so often when you're having a B2B conversation with a marketer or a senior executive at a B2B company, they're saying, well, we don't really care about, smartphones or tablets or computers or anything that people are doing or, streaming media or what have you. It's like, whoa, wait a second. Everybody that you're going to sell to has a smartphone, has a certain amount of empowerment from that technology, has a behavior shift that's going on in the way they consume media and the way they consume information. So how is that not critically important to you? And of course, it is critically important. They just don't necessarily think of it in the context of consumer because the word B2C or the initialism B2C versus B2B comes with connotations. But in practice, we're all people. A B2B sale is a person sale, right? You're selling to a human being on the other side. Right. You're not selling to a building. You're selling to a person. So there's a lot of B2B businesses at CES. There always have been. And look, at the Aptiv exhibit, you need an appointment. I mean, they're not open to everybody walking to CES. You can walk by it and see a few things on the outside. But if you want to talk to them, you have to make an appointment. There's several organizations that do that.
So if you were a B2B brand and you weren't exhibiting at CES, but you were going to attend, what kinds of things should you have your antenna up for this year?
I mean, the first and foremost is what's actually real and what's just in the hype cycle. And you can tell a couple different ways. You can tell by the size and the amount of money you can just tell was spent to talk about stuff. People who are prosperous generally will come in force, and they will. People who are well moneyed will come in force. People who are also rands, it's easy to tell. You get a sense of how many people are in a given part of a given industry at CES because so many different disciplines are represented. So whether you're looking at drones or if you're looking at wellness tech or if you're looking at wearables or if you're looking at good old-fashioned TV sets, how big is China? How big is Korea? How big is Japan? What's happening in that business? You walk through Central Hall, you will have an opinion on the other side of it. Right. Whether you need that opinion or not is completely based on what, your business is. But if you go to CES with intent to understand various marketplaces and how they might impact your business, or to look for new areas where your business could supply things. Like a lot of the companies that we work with, they go there. They are experts in supply chain. They're experts in tooling. They're experts in all kinds of different things, logistics. And so wow, look at the size of that business. They're going to need our stuff. Let's go talk to them. They don't necessarily talk to them at the show. They make some introductions and then they do follow-ups. But how do you get a sense of where this is going and who's who? It's visceral. You kind of have to physically walk the floor to see it.
You got to walk the floor.
Yeah, kind of.
It's hard because, if I know a lot of people say, oh, there are too many people going, and, I'll just wait for the CNN report or Shelly's report or some others. And I have found, well, not to mention seeing the tech, but the people that are there. It's an incredible networking moment as well.
No, it's real. I mean, yeah, we do a Wednesday morning breakfast that is really the networking must have at the thing, and it evolved into that just based on the people that were showing up. It is all about people. But it's not that our reports are good or bad or CNN are good or bad. Everybody reports as well as they can for their audience. But here's the problem with just relying on reports. They don't, by their very nature, they're not what you need to know. They're going to be about a bright, shiny object or something that will get your attention. For all intents and purposes, even our reports contain quite a bit of clickbait. It's like, look at this new foldable phone. Look at this new contact lens with a heads-up display. It's like, yeah, it's not manufactured yet. It's a concept thing, but sure, we'll put those out because we saw it at CES. But when you go there, you have a different experience. As you said, you meet the people and you also get a sense of what's real and what's fake that you personally own. So now you're not taking someone's advice or opinion about it. You have an opinion that is just a gut check for yourself during the year when someone comes in to pitch you something. I didn't see that. I didn't see that happen, and I don't see that happen. I mean, it's a wonderful bit of power. It's a wonderful bit of empowerment.
And so just for Lincoln fans, Lincoln on leadership, management by walking around, you got to go out and survey the field. You just can't do it all from home base. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into some very specific trends that could impact B2B marketers.
Hey, it's Drew. I was at a conference the other day and somebody looked at my saw lapel pen and said, "What's up with that?" And I said, well, what's the one thing that marketing has always had to do? Forget digital, forget all this stuff. What is the one marketing imperative? And he looked at me and went, "Cut through." And I went, "Yes, ding, 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 ding. That's right. Cut through. That is what marketing must do." And it's not just cutting through the clutter, although that's really important, because if your marketing doesn't cut through the clutter, it's like the proverbial tree in the forest that falls and nobody hears it. But it's also cutting through the crap and the processes that inhibit innovation. We've been working a lot lately with some CMOs to help them cut through the crap and get at the essence of what is their big idea. And how can they make a case to expand that idea across their business? That, to me, is cutting through.
Okay, we're back, and my guest is Shelly Palmer. We've been talking about the, quote, Consumer Electronics Show, but we really know it's a business show. It is all about bringing people together who are going to create the products and services of the future, whether we're talking about consumer-oriented or business-oriented. So let's talk, what do you see ahead? Is there anything from a B2B standpoint that you're looking for, or B2B marketers should be looking for this show versus past shows?
That's really a very good question. This show is going to be interesting. First of all, it's not referred to internally as the Consumer Electronics Show anymore. They just named it CES. And the reason they did that is that they renamed the organization from the Consumer Electronics Association to the Consumer Technology Association a couple of years back. This show has almost nothing to do with consumer electronics. In fact, you could argue, what will consumer electronics be in a world of smart homes where speakers are already built in and amplifiers are connected to speakers and the Bluetooth tool set that's going to access them, or the Wi-Fi tool set's in your pocket already? Like, what are you buying? You're buying your phone or something. The consumer technology business where consumers are going to make decisions is getting smaller every day. Where B2B guys make decisions, people that build houses for a living, people that do renovations, people that plan communities, people that plan smart cities, people that plan municipalities, people that are thinking about self-driving cars and self-driving roads, people that are thinking about identification versus identity, safety, security, perimeter security, physical security, how you're going to use technology and pattern, like all of those disciplines are represented at CES. So it's a broad base of business-to-business technologies that ultimately will end up in a consumer's possession, but not necessarily only consumer's possession. If you have a factory, you're going to want to use, you might want to use 5G internally for industrial internet. You might want to use a certain network of drop cams. You might want to use tri-location from Wi-Fi signals so that you could actually find the position of certain things, based on their IDs inside the factory along the chain. It's like there's so many things that are really B2B that look a little B2C-ish, but are really B2B at CES. And so that's what B2B marketers should look for. They should be looking at the crossover technologies, and there are so many.
So let's go through a few of the ones that, I know are going to come up. AI.
Yeah.
So how do you even look at AI at CES? I mean, is it just to get a sense of that, or is that a bad show for this?
So the mythology and the hype around AI, which is artificial intelligence, it's the worst set of letters. Most people think it means AGI, artificial general intelligence, where, Terminator is coming to get us and Skynet's going to blow the world up. It's like, guys, people ascribe all kinds of capability to AI that it doesn't have. And at CES, sadly, and I say this I'd say this in front of anybody, sadly, everybody's going to say they are using AI, whether they're using machine learning or AI or cognitive agents or some subset, or whether they're doing straight heuristics or whether they're just doing logistical regressions and pretending it's AI. Everyone's going to say they're using AI, and they're going to say that their tool sets are empowered by this technology. I'm here to tell you that is 100% horse hockey. It's just not true. So I wouldn't go to CES thinking you're going to learn a lot about artificial intelligence. You will hear a lot about artificial intelligence, but you are not going to learn a lot. And certainly, if you want to learn about AI and machine learning and how it would apply to your business, the best thing you can do is call up one of your consultants that is a specialist in the turning of data into action, and come with a problem that says, I have a pile of data and I need to turn it into action or actionable insights. State the problem and then apply the tool. AI is not a general tool that solves for everything. It's a purpose-built environment that is very carefully tuned to accomplish a goal that human beings cannot do. Just quickly, if I gave you a 10 by 10 metrics of your business, a spreadsheet, 10 rows and 10 columns, and said, hey, here's your business. You'd look at it, and about 3-4 minutes later, you'd start telling me, oh, that's double income, no kids, a single household, this is that. But if that was 25,000 columns by 250 million rows, there's nothing you can do about it. And so you are going to need some computational tools to understand what that data set is. And you're going to have to have a way from a data scientific method to take what you understand about the small matrix, create some kind of mathematics that are well-rounded enough and not so tightly fit that you get an overfitting problem, just that serendipity and randomness are still allowed. And then you're going to need to test it, relentlessly test it to see if you got it right. And by the way, you won't get it right until a lot of iterations. And so this is a complex, serious subject that a lot of people abuse. So expect to hear a lot of BS about AI, right, and believe a fraction of it. It's all in the hype cycle right now.
So this notion of next best action for the marketer comes a lot. You tend to hear it more in B2C, but it really matters in B2B as well. So in theory, there's a 14-month buyer's journey. There's 5.4 people involved in the buying cycle. Each one of them has their own particular information needs. And so based on any kind of data that you have on this individual before, it's time for them to see the ROI calculator, for example. Are you seeing this sort of notion of next best action? And this would be an application for B2B marketers, right? We're going to use our Salesforce and our Marketo and all of our tech stack so that we can serve up the right content to the right person at the right time. That's what this stuff is supposed to be able to do. Are you seeing that happening?
I think that is happening. What people don't realize generally is that you need an enormous amount of data to train a system to do that in some meaningful way. You need a high school degree in calculus and a little bit of linear algebra under your belt to be able to just do it with equations and a few algorithms. And so next best action, sure, there's probably a world where you could train a cognitive agent to do that well. And there are people who are doing that. I've seen it. Look, Salesforce has enough data to do it. There are companies that have enough data to do it. You could have 25 million customers and it wouldn't be enough data to actually do the work you need to do. I shouldn't say it that way. You would do just as well using math. Right. As you would using
some kind of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like,
right.
How much brain damage do you want to go through, and how much grief do you want to go through? Like, if you're looking for next best action, there are a lot of A/B testing is underutilized and underrated. Test. That's what we do. That's what everybody should do. Take nothing for granted. Assume you know nothing. Assume that the internet is a dispassionate place that will tell you when you make a mistake. And the beautiful thing about it is then you can test a better version and see if they like it better. And it's objective. These are objective facts. And you don't need a lot of special tools to do that. You just need the tools that are out there.
Test. Did you hear that? Oh. Test. That is the fourth pillar of the sort of renegade model of, getting that, the CATS, courage, artful, thoughtful, and scientific. That scientific notion is test, A/B test. Okay, so speaking of test, just curious, and this has nothing to do with B2B, but let's say you're going shopping on a website today, Brooks Brothers or some other silly site. The next day you will be followed by pictures of the things that were in your shopping cart that you didn't buy, and maybe even one that you did buy. And what I couldn't figure out is that because they're dumb or smart? And here's why I asked that. And I thought it was because they were dumb. They should know what I bought. Why are they showing me what I already bought? So that could be dumb. Or they're smart because I did buy it, and therefore it signals to me, oh, look, there's that sweater I just bought. Which one is it?
Wow, I don't think I'm smart enough to know the answer to that. But what I'll tell you is that retargeting is insidious and evil, and it works beautifully.
That's unbelievable, right?
It works beautifully. In fact, it's never going away. It's funny. A lot of people think that's AI. It's not. It's dropping a cookie. I mean, it's not. It's the furthest thing from AI. It's nothing to do with that.
They're just grabbing 8 images that were sort of generally related to the things that I was generally looking at, and they follow me around and put them in there, whether or not I bought them or not.
It can be more sophisticated than that. And
you would think.
No, it can be. There are some great tools out there that some of our friends, in fact, even our engineering team has written a couple tools where it'll look at your profile if the cookie's dropped and you've got a customer profile, and it'll take some educated guesses as to what that image ought to be and what the price ought to be. Did you abandon a shopping cart because of price? Did you abandon it because you found another thing? It'll take a guess at that. And again, it's test, learn. So there are a wide range of retargeting tools out there. Everything from just the dumbest possible retargeting tool, which is drop a picture, fire an image, call it a day, to drop a cookie, analyze the cookie, go back, reverse append it, or just analyze the profile, make some educated guess about the profile, send the images. The sad news is that, generally, none of the systems know that you purchased or didn't purchase. Generally.
So then the answer is they were dumb. They were just guessing. They don't know, and I don't understand that. Why can't they equate purchase data with retargeting?
It's not that. It's so that in almost every case that I'm aware of, when you abandon a shopping cart, even if you come back later to buy, the shopping cart abandonment triggers a set of actions, like next best action.
In both of these cases, I had purchased.
Yeah, and it just doesn't know. Cancel. Yeah, it doesn't know.
It doesn't know.
Well, and I think at some point someone's going to realize that it would be, everybody already knows that it would be great if that could get fixed. There are some mechanical reasons why it's hard to do. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible. It's just hard to do. And by the way, the driving force behind this, and this is the driving force behind everything in this planet, it's not going to be that much more effective if they limit duplicated reach like by 4% or 7%. It's like So you don't, because they're going to show it to you 6 more times, then they're going to let it go because you didn't buy.
Right.
So they get 6 more facings in front of you. They could put the right thing in front of you. Maybe you'd buy something else. That's true. So there's a missed opportunity cost. But how hurt are they based on how hurt they'd be if they didn't get that in front of you?
Right.
Where there they know that's a demonstrable, absolutely calculable loss they'd take if they didn't retarget you. And so the over-under on that doesn't say spend a ton of money on your MarTech stack to fix it.
Another tool to fix that. Okay. All right.
Of my 30 MarTech tools
Yes,
that everybody sees.
yeah. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to really zoom in on B2B marketing from a smaller business standpoint, because that's sort of the world that Shelly and I live in on a personal basis. So we'll be right back.
You've been listening to another great interview on Renegade Thinkers Unite with Drew Neiser. But the value doesn't end there. As a listener, you can download a free ebook from Drew, Renegade Thinkers, interviews with 11 trailblazing CMOs any business can learn from. Top marketing thought leaders and proven executives from Time Warner, American Express, and Chico's, and others. Get your free copy at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook. For listeners only at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to wrap up this episode with my guest, Shelly Palmer. We've been talking about technology, the impact that it has on all businesses, but I want to zero in a little bit on small businesses and small business marketing, and both in many ways, Shelly and I live parallel lives in that we have essentially marketing services firms, or let's put it this way, we have firms that provide consulting services to companies. And you were talking about the fact that you all hired an outside company to come in and look at yours.
Yes.
And I thought, which is exactly what we did too, because as the expression goes, it's very hard to read the label from the inside of the bottle, which I love that expression.
Yeah, a few years back, we were seeing big changes coming because that's kind of our job. And, the obvious question is, well, how could every business in the universe need to evolve and transform except us? Duh. So the question is, well, what would that look like? And you can't run a process on yourself. You've got to bring in somebody who understands how to do it. And I wanted to be part of it, so I couldn't run it. I wanted to be part of the process as opposed to the facilitator. So yeah, we brought in some friends who do what we do, and they helped us understand our business a little bit better. Pardon me. Helped us understand our business a little bit better. And about 4 years ago, we began this evolutionary transformation from a strategic advisory shop to strategy, design, and engineering. And we've always had in-house engineering. People know that. We started working in the late 70s, early 80s on digital audio recording and just what is a tapeless studio. And we put the first tapeless recording studio commercially available in the world online in April of 1986. All of that math that was required to do sampling, to sample to disk, to sample, to memory, to take musical sounds and voices and all audio and translate them into some kind of high fidelity, super high quality audio file that was editable. And, that math is the same math that you use for everything in all of statistics. Shaping a wave, anti-aliasing, denoising something, all those things have analogs today in the world of marketing. And so we've always had in-house engineering, but we never sold our tools to our clients. We never manufactured anything for them.
So this is a shift from so you're actually making stuff now.
Yes, we really are.
Interesting.
In a big way.
And so the strategic plan and the evolution is from being a services company to be a product company?
Pretty much. We've gone from strict consulting to now we will consult. We've always written RFPs. Now we'll run we always run the RFP process when asked. Now our designers will go in there, design a system, analyze and design a system, and our engineering team, incredible engineering team that my son Jared leads. He's just done an incredible job bringing together some of the world's best front end programmers, and actually some of the world's best back end programmers, and they're building digital product across a very wide spectrum. They're building phenomenal front-end solutions, a lot of open source tooling that's used by a lot of big companies. We're very proud of the open source work and that they're doing and the attention it's brought. So the long and short of it is that we can now deliver managed services to our clients for all kinds of processes that they used to not they used to have to just either build in-house or buy outside, and now we've got some solutions for them.
And this, I will call it media engine that you have, that is basically your brand, your name, that sort of has this reputation as an expert in the industry. Is that still sort of the media exposure that drives the interest in this sort of newer business?
Wow, I wish I could say that it was. I am very blessed. I am a father with 2 of my 3 children in my business.
Wow.
My daughter Alexis is our chief operating officer and head of client services. My son Jared leads an incredible engineering team, one of a couple that we have, several that we have. They came to me a couple of years ago with a new logo and a new name, the Palmer Group. And their name is now on the door. And so they are the next generation. Certainly I'm having fun with my media exposure and all the things I like to do, talking to you and writing some books and writing my blog and various newsletters every day, but at the end, and going on television. But at the end of the day, the work that the Palmer Group is doing, which is now so firmly rooted, more than 50% of our business is engineering. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible transformation from just strategic advisory to physically building product every day and building a lot of product for a lot of people, a lot of components for other developers. So this is really our coders. We like to think of it as engineering for engineers. We do quite a bit of that, and it's super fun. And it's the next evolution of the organization. So yeah, some of my exposure helps, but mostly the world we're sort of journeying into right now is a field that is super exciting. It's explosively growing every single day. Look, tomorrow, there's no version of the world where there's less data than there is today, right? It's like we're living in a world where the velocity of data is increasing and will always increase. And so turning that data into action is the thing. And creating consumer experiences in a digital world is the thing. And being able to analyze the data that comes back is the thing. And so we're just concentrating where all of the growth is. And it has been a good strategy for us. So the Palmer Group, which is the evolution of the Shelly Palmer Strategic Advisors, is thriving right now, be it ever thus, knock on wood. And, we're trying our best, but what a great ride. And like I said, I'm very blessed. It's a family-owned business. And that's, we consider that an asset, not a liability, family-owned. And, we're not selling anybody anytime soon. This is a 100-year business, the way we're thinking about it.
And at some point they say, why don't you take a longer vacation, Dad?
I expect I'm going to be put on an iceberg with 3 days' food and pushed out into the ocean at some point. And by the way, I can't wait.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I'm waiting. Now, you hear that, kids? That opportunity awaits. I'm all ears. Come talk to me. So, all right. Well, as we bring this to a close, that's really interesting. This is an odd one and completely. I noticed. Do you know anything about the Resilience Conference that's happening at CES and what's going on there? Because that, to me, is a very important part of using technology to drive change, to make people healthy, safe, warm.
So what that is we've had some amazing natural disasters. The 100-year storm, Superstorm Sandy, and of course we've had several since Sandy that have been equally devastating. And there are earthquakes at levels we hadn't seen before. And so when the world becomes so reliant on infrastructure and technology, what happens when it's taken away from you? And how can a municipality or can an area be resilient in a time of great devastation, whether it's from a natural disaster or even a man-made disaster? So CTA, in their wisdom, and Gary Shapiro and Karen Chupka have put together this resilience conference at CES this year, and I think it's going to be really great and super important. And all the technologies you'll see on display are, how do you get self-service restored as quickly as possible so people can communicate? And you can know where people are? How can you get fresh water running as quickly as possible? How can you get generators, electricity as quickly as possible? What's the best way to get food distributed? Like all of the problems that happen for first responders, the devastation in Puerto Rico after the hurricane, there were people who they couldn't size the problem because there just was no way to get there. And so looking at that from a human standpoint and saying, well, we're technologists. How do we fix that? And I think CTA is brilliant in putting that together. And hats off to Gary and Karen for putting, and the whole CTA board for getting that together. I think it's going to be a really important sub-conference at CES this year.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the Urban Green Council, which I've been on the board for, like 9-10 years, which is focused on helping sort of greenify buildings, both existing buildings and so forth. And since buildings are responsible for 60+% of the carbon emissions, it's a pretty big deal. So I'm interested, and I will in particular be paying attention to that aspect of it, because if you build better buildings or retrofit them, you help address and that's a big deal in New York City, obviously, resilience is, and so there's a lot going on in that area. All right. So last bit of advice for those folks who are on the fence about attending CES this year. Let's just give them one last push.
Well, the ROI on CES is very individualized. You can think that you'll learn about it after the fact, and it's true, you will learn about it. But to experience it, as we spoke about earlier, comes with its own set of values. And I think if you are in a business where human beings interact with your organization, where they're empowered by technology, where their behaviors are impacted by technology, you owe it to yourself to understand what's coming in the short-term future. Because if you don't, and you read it, by the time you read about it in the paper, you're not going to have a lot of time to business plan for it. If you happen to walk by it, and one of the things I have to quickly just say, the reasons that we do tours at CES, and they're not open to the public, you have to be clients of our organization, but the reason we do tours at CES is that the show is too big to manage, right? So our job is making CES smaller, more relevant, and more curated. So for our clients or small groups that come to us, we curate an experience based on business strategy. And that's whether you come to us or a firm like ours or you do it yourself. The good news about CES is that the entire directory is online. Everybody's going to be there. They do their best to categorize it. You can plan an agenda. And when you go, you should go there with an ROI in mind. And if you can't come up with a return on that investment, then don't, right? Because there's no point.
Well, it's funny. So last year I actually went on your tour for the first time, and it was really quite informative. And I've been doing this for a long time, as we established at the beginning of the show. But right about 3/4 of the way through, the lights went out, and it was it was an amazing moment for here's this this big giant show, and the lights were out for what, an hour and 13 minutes or something. Like your guide was really great, and we had this private violin performance, which was this woman just was there and she just put on a show for us, which was not expected. So that was an unexpected ROI for CES. Anyway, Shelly, thank you so much for spending time. And for those of you listening, a couple of thoughts. There is no way you could be in an industry that isn't being touched by technology. It's impossible. And just think of it this way. How much of your content right now is being consumed on smartphones? Oh, probably 50+% of it. How many of them would love to do digital transactions with you, even pay the bills or submit the bills? There's almost no aspect of a business, and I don't care what it is that you're doing, technology is going to have an impact on it. Secondly, if you were thinking about innovation at all, one of the most interesting things about CES is just imagine crazy mashups just for fun. What if we take this robot and put it over here with this health device and put it over here? And we talked about that on the show last year. So between the see the future, imagine the future, and sort of live it, it's a fun show. Plus, I'll be there and I'll be looking for folks to hang out with. So that's another incentive. And that's really about it for this time. So thank you as always for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. Sharing is caring. And until next time, keep those Renegade thinking caps on and strong.
This has been Renegade Thinkers Unite, but it doesn't end there. Just go to renegadethinkersunite.com for more and subscribe to the show. That way, you'll never miss an episode. We'll talk with you next time on Renegade Thinkers Unite.